go write a book. Welcome to the Supper Club. My name is Joe Fresta, and I'll be your host. The Supper Club, brought to you by Kuna Food Service, a family-owned tradition since 1918. The Pasta House Company Italian Restaurants. Lordo's Diamonds, your family jeweler for life. Oliva on the Hill. Ackerman Toyota, the #1 St. Louis Toyota dealer in volume sales back-to-back years 2023 and 2024. Thank you, St. Louis. And Fresta Limoncello. Keep sipping, my friends. Welcome to the Supper Club, another episode hosted by Joe Fresta, brought to you by Kuna Food Service. Today is a very special guest, a man who's in the real estate business here in St. Louis, a real estate tycoon, a real one. My friend, my brother, Keith Barket. Keith, how are you?
Nice to be here.
Welcome
Thank you
to
for
the show.
having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so you're a St. Louis boy. You're born and raised in South St. Louis.
Right, of Lebanese descent.
That's right. In the St. Gabriel parish, correct?
No, St. Raymond.
St. Raymond. They're pretty
St.
close.
Gabriel,
so.
I went to school.
Oh, you went to school there?
But my parish is St. Raymond's, downtown off of Shoto
Oh,
Avenue.
okay, sure. Yeah,
my
Bishop
father was
Shaheen.
born in Batroun, Lebanon.
Really?
Came over in 1909.
And your what were your mother and father's name?
Ruth and Ferris.
Yeah.
Ferris Stephen Barket.
Yeah.
There used to be a sign on Chippewa and Watson, FB. My dad said, that's my department store, Ferris Barket.
Famous at bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
Why,
Yeah.
why not?
What did he do for a living?
He was a bottle cap salesman.
Wow.
You know, they used to ask me in school, you know, all the kids, what's your father do? I was a little embarrassed. He sold bottle cap. You think of a bottle cap.
Right.
But they come 144 gross to a box, so they're that
Sure.
big. And you sell Pepsi-Cola by a train load.
Right.
So,
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, and all the little flavor.
Yeah.
But he traveled Missouri and Illinois. And, you know, in those days, they were separated. Suncrest, New Grape,
Right.
and Pepsi became a lot of flavors and they merged and consolidated. But in the old days,
Right.
you had 200-300 bottlers all over Missouri.
And I tell you what, those drivers back then made a lot of money.
Yes, they did. My brother-in-law was a driver for a soda
Yep.
company. I think my dad got him a job, but he did very well.
Yeah, there was one guy, because I was in the soft drink business right out of college.
Right.
And there was a story about a guy who drove truck delivery. Because then, back in those days, they could anybody could buy a case of soda off their truck. A kid could walk up, you know,
That I
in a
didn't
neighborhood and buy, he'd sell it to anybody.
I'll be darned.
And they were big commission.
Yeah.
And this particular gentleman was married, lived in Ladue, and his wife would make him leave the house in a suit and tie till he got to the bottling plant, and he'd change into his Coca-Cola
I'll be darned.
thing, and then he'd have to come back. When he came back in the house, he had to put on a suit and tie. But he made a lot of money, brother.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, you don't, nowadays everything is cans except beer you can bottle.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, in the old days, before there was cans,
Yeah.
everything was a bottle cap.
Right. Yep. And those bottles were heavy too. They had to throw them things back up on top of the truck.
Gosh, yeah.
Yep.
Those,
They had those side loaders.
Side loaders, yeah.
Yeah. So your dad sold.
So bottle caps.
Yeah. And that's something.
I used to have to stand up and say, "What'd your dad do?" He sold bottle caps.
So what would you, so they raised you in South St. Louis?
South St. Louis, lived in Winona, sold newspapers on the corner of Lansdowne and Watson,
Oh,
and went over to Perennies and bought a pizza every night with my earnings.
I'll be darned.
But in the old days, my dad taught me something. Fumble for change if they give you a quarter to light changes.
Yeah.
You keep the rest. 'Cause
You know,
they
I
have to go.
think I went to school with a kid named Jimmy Duncan, and he had that same paper stand where yours was on a triangle.
That's right.
It was
Lansdowne,
Arsenal,
Watson, and
wait,
Chippewa.
right there.
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a
I
hot
guess
corner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was a coveted corner.
So that was your first job.
That was my first job.
Yeah.
Well, really, Mowing lawns was my first job.
Yeah.
That was maybe second.
Yeah.
I mowed lawns and shoveled snow from the time I could do it.
Yeah.
6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
I was about 9 when I sold papers.
I didn't cut lawns, but I did because I had allergies. I couldn't do the lawn thing with all the stuff flying around. But I did shovel a lot of snow. And back in the '70s, when I was a kid, man, it snowed.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nothing to get 8 inches, foot of snow.
Well, more so in the '50s when I was.
Yeah, when you were a kid.
Yeah.
But I just go around the neighborhood. I lived in Clifton Park, knocking on doors.
Oh, that was a great area. I remember your house in Clifton Park.
Yeah.
So did Bill Nardoni.
Yep.
Lived there.
That's right. He lived there after us. He bought it from Mom and Dad when they moved out.
Oh, that's right. It was your house.
That's right. That's where I grew up.
I was at your house many a times.
Yeah. It was a great place to grow up. But so you did a paper route. It was your first job or paper stand.
Yeah. Papers.
And then
well, it was a paper stand, not a route.
Okay.
I didn't deliver.
You didn't get on the bike and run around.
No.
Because there were 2 different ways you could do it.
Yeah, I had stop signs. They had to stop.
They had to stop.
And you hold the paper up and say, read all about it, like the old days.
You ever work Old Newsboy Day?
No.
They ever get you out there for that?
No, but I knew a lot of people did.
Because you are an old newsboy.
I know.
Yeah, it was big. It was big back in the day. They had all the celebrities doing it. Mike Shannon,
Yeah.
Lou Brock, guys like Dan
Ted Levis,
Deerdorf.
real estate guy.
And they'd all
Billy
do-
Bush. He was the chairman.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
And his dad before him.
yeah. And then you were when you were a kid, you were a pool player, weren't you?
You're a very good pool player, yeah.
Yeah, you were a pool shark.
Yeah.
You're like Willie Moscone.
Yeah, that's well,
Minnesota
not
Fats.
that good, but I watched him a lot.
Did you?
And one of my favorite movies with Paul Newman and the what they call that pool hustler, the hustler,
Tom
And
Cruise.
Later on, Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And Paul Newman was in it
In it
also
too.
as his coach.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have posters in my rec room and pool table and posters of Paul Newman
Yeah.
in those days.
Was that your
and
favorite?
Jackie Gleason.
Oh yeah.
He was the hustler.
He was the hustler.
He there was a famous guy besides Willie Moscone, somebody else that he played. I can't think of the name of it right now. Minnesota Fats.
Minnesota Fats.
Yeah.
Yeah, Willie Moscone. Used to watch him on TV. I think they would be on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
I'll be darned.
Remember that?
Yeah.
They'd be doing their thing.
Yeah, you got a good history remembrance.
Yeah, I try. Well, I used to watch a lot of
Well,
TV.
you're a sports guy.
Sports guy.
One of the best hockey players in St. Louis.
Yeah, well, no, I don't know about that. Checks in the mail, though, for that comment.
And you say Tony Sansone, too.
Yeah.
Did you see him
I
this
saw
past
Tony.
weekend?
Tony
Good.
came by. He stopped by.
Well, he got our message last week when we called.
Oh, he didn't
And
come.
left me a message. I'm sorry I missed your call, but I'll see you next week. I didn't tell him I'm be at a wedding in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
Because I knew you'd be there and you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh,
all
yeah.
of his friends.
Yeah, he I don't see Tony as much because we don't play hockey together
Did he have
anymore.
his
But
symbolic hat on?
no, he didn't have a hat on. He looked good though, all
He
decked
wears
out.
an old-fashioned hat.
Yep.
That they used to wear in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, he brought a bottle of wine. I brought a bottle of limoncello.
Yeah.
Yeah. So great guy. And
Great guy.
let's get into it though. How did you get into the real estate business? That's your real meat and potatoes.
You know,
throughout
when
your
I was
life.
a kid, I had a little plot of ground in our yard, and I used to like to build, starting with, of course, a rector set, which most kids do. But for some reason, my dad got me a load of bricks from a friend of his owned a brickyard. I used to like to build.
Right.
And I guess I had an uncle in Kansas City who was a pretty good builder, or big builder, and he was sort of my mentor and idol.
Right.
And I'll never forget, I thought owning property was success.
Sure.
It started with little 2 families, all I could afford on 1022 North Cardinal,
Wow.
and kept multiplying. 4 families, 6 families,
Was that on the north side?
mostly north side, but also
okay.
south side on Botanical and McNair.
Okay.
Even further south on Senate and Lynch,
Wow.
and pretty well all over the city, but the majority was north.
And how did you? So that was your
I
first.
started with one,
Just one.
and then
You grow
another
it,
one, and,
parlay it into another one.
and I had a guy that would lend me money because banks wouldn't go in those certain neighborhoods.
Yeah.
A guy named Paul Mayerowitz, he was a retired pawnbroker.
Really?
So I paid steep interest rates but at least I was able to buy where a bank
Sure.
wouldn't go. And you
Right.
made enough money, you didn't mind the steep interest rate. It's sort of like William Zeckendorf once said. He was a very popular guy in the New York City with high rises. Matter of fact, Zeckendorf Realty is still going. But he said, I'd rather be alive at 6% than dead, or 10% than dead at 6%. So I didn't mind paying the rates as long as I was making money.
Yeah. And then you got into, didn't you get into home building too a little bit?
Yeah, well, home remodeling and then
okay.
home building.
Right.
Home building came later, but in between the tenements, I remodeled houses, mostly North St. Louis, but also South. Sanded the floors, put in new kitchen cabinets, new flooring, paint, of course.
Sure.
And resold them.
Yeah, touch them up a little bit.
Yeah, renovate.
Yeah, renovate a little bit and turn what they call flipping today.
Well, yeah, a better word is renovate.
Renovate.
Sounds better.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. But we did flip. That's where we didn't renovate. We'd buy a house and sell it to another guy, and
Right.
usually made $250 those days.
Right. And,
I never did brokerage.
yeah,
Self-invest.
yeah, that's the way. If you can do it,
Yeah,
that's the way to do it.
right.
But then you got into downtown, right? You went
That was
downtown
later on. I
later
got
on?
into better apartment buildings and then downtown high rises.
Yeah, the Ambassador Building.
Ambassador Building, Arcade Building, several warehouses. At one time, they call me Downtown Keith, even to this day. They had about 2 million square foot under
Wow.
ownership and
Wow.
control, partnerships.
And that's what started your relationship with the Missouri Athletic Club.
That's exactly right. My office was downtown in the Ambassador Building, and first Clayton, and then I moved downtown. And when I joined the Missouri Athletic Club in 1977,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
you remember the
I was a
time.
member there for a long time.
People ask about you 10 years after you resigned.
Still asking about where is that guy?
Oh, he died.
Yeah, I served on the board for 3 years.
You did? I didn't know
I did.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was the one who came up with the idea for the reciprocal with the country clubs.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was my
Well,
idea.
now we're doing, we just, Norwood, I'm not a golfer, but I think we switched from Norwood to another club.
Oh, did you now?
I think.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that we took over the St. Louis Club, which I belonged to, and quit when they made the move.
I was going to ask you about that. What are your thoughts on that? Now, that just happened.
Craziest thing, I can't figure it out. There's 100 theories on that. But when they moved, I reluctantly paid an assessment,
Yeah.
because I hadn't been there yet.
Yeah.
And after 30 days of being there and going twice, I wrote a resignation letter. We had the best view and the best club. I was so proud to belong at it. Mm-hmm. And then when they made the move, it become very institutional. I had a birthday down there in a private room. We had a podium and a TV screen and no ambience whatsoever compared to what we had. So now that MAC is taking it over,
Sure.
I was the first to sign up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I've been there as a guest of some members. It really is a
well,
beautiful,
that's how I got going. I was a
beautiful
guest.
spot. Yeah, beautiful
And
spot.
I was proud to take people there. People would take me to Westwood or Meadowbrook, and I didn't want to come all the way downtown to reciprocate. So St. Louis Club was perfect, and it was impressive, and the food was, bar none, one of the best in St. Louis.
Sort of what we talked about earlier before we went on camera. Kind of a modern day supper club.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Modern day. right?
Exactly.
Beautiful spot, great views.
Yeah. I'd say one of the best, what do you say, New Year's, Mother's Day, Father's Day events with ice carvings and shrimp, and
Right.
one of the best.
Yeah, and I've talked to other people who were members, and you don't stand alone in that opinion. They're not happy.
Well, I know
with
20 people that quit since I moved.
Yeah, they just don't like
Yeah,
it.
and I
which
say
is a
once
shame.
we open up in a year, they'll all quit, and St. Louis
Yeah.
Club will be forgotten about.
Right.
Matter of fact, one of my letters of resignation to the manager, Mike Brady, is if the founding fathers would turn over if they knew what happened, and the guy that led this move should be voted out.
Right.
And I like my fund of my 3,000, which I knew I wouldn't get, but I did get a response from him. He was sorry that I quit.
Yeah.
But not only was the ambience and the views, how can you give up a view of the Pierre Leclerc building? But getting to it, the parking and going over the bumps to get up to the 14th floor or whatever. But it was so sterile inside.
Yeah.
It could not begin to be compete with what we gave up. In other words,
I don't know.
Usually when you quit something or build something new, you try to go better.
You improve
This
upon
went
it.
down.
It went way down.
Way down.
I bet I've talked to 10 people
Yeah.
who just say the same thing.
Oh,
it's
terrible.
a shame. But anyway, here's my next question.
Yes.
In terms of that, what do you think that the club in Clayton could now cannibalize downtown
No.
a little bit?
No.
No. Okay.
We did tons of surveys. We have a great number of our members that live in Clayton
Okay.
that don't necessarily come downtown like I don't. In the early days, I would go downtown almost every Friday. Now I go to the West Club. I will use that St. Louis Club
Okay.
and not take away from downtown.
Okay.
There's several members that voted no, thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
But no, I do not think. I think, not every member is going to join,
Yeah.
but it's gotten tremendous support.
Yeah.
And it only takes so many people, and then new members who will join because of that.
Sure.
No, I think it'll be a great success. It will not hurt downtown.
And I'd say in the last 10 years, the MAC membership it's grown.
There's a
I mean,
waiting
their
list at
numbers
the West
are-
Club to get
yeah,
it.
well, there you go.
Yeah.
Then maybe there is enough.
There's room because
Yeah.
we're at all-time high on membership, and if just a third of the people use
Sure.
it'll be a success.
Right.
I think it's not competing. It's a different type of venue.
Yeah.
And of course, the key, even though Chef Bart is one of the greatest chefs downtown for events and stuff, we're not taking over the 16th floor. So
Right.
weddings and major things will still be downtown. But the key is getting an excellent chef.
That's right.
St. Louis Club to me was as good as it can get.
Yeah.
And not to say downtown isn't good.
And it's strictly dining. It's not. There's
Fine
no,
dining.
Fine dining.
I don't think downtown is great dining, but I don't think like Dominic's or Tony's
Right.
white tablecloth fine
Yeah.
dining.
Well, in terms of the clubs, I mean, there's a lot of different amenities with the downtown clubhouse, which is beautiful.
Oh, sure.
You got the
swimming
barber
pool.
shop, you got a swimming pool, you got a workout facility, you got a
everything.
spa.
You got everything.
You got all that stuff.
In the workout facility.
Yeah.
Clayton's got a small workout facility, but no competition
Nothing
in
like
downtown.
downtown. No.
Or even west.
Yeah, and that's good. And then you're part of a club, a special club down there called the 0600 Club.
That's right.
Explain that to me, because you
I
spend
will.
a lot of your office is in one of the buildings, right? In one of your
I'm at the Leclerc Gas Building, which is 720 Olive.
Gotcha.
But which I walk to every day. I park at the MAC.
Yeah.
But I met a guy down there 20 years ago. He says, "You live here." I said, "Well, so do you. Who are you?" He says, "Jim Zemlock." I'm the.
Oh man, the
I said,
best.
"What do you do?" He says, "I'm CFO." I wasn't thinking, it was too early in the morning. So I said, "What is that?" He says, "Chief Financial Officer." We became best of friends.
Yeah.
So one day he's leaving. He
Yeah.
says, "I'll see you at 0600. Military, 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
0600.
Yeah. Ding, ding,
I
ding.
kind of coined it.
Yeah.
So that's how that started. It was Jim.
Jimmy Zemlak.
Yeah.
Otherwise
And
known as
five
Jimmy Z.
Jay-Z.
Yep.
5 founding members: Scott Engelberg, past president; Tommy Dannenberg; Ryan Freeman, president of Payne-Crest Electric;
Okay.
Bo Reinberg.
Yeah.
One fella died, Steve Kozak.
Oh yeah.
But there's a picture of us on the wall on 5M.
Yeah. And it's been such a big part of your life.
Yeah.
Right.
And my grandson Joey's a junior 0600 member.
Oh, he is. So you getting up that early? Is he getting up and getting down?
He tries. He doesn't. He's not
Yeah.
like the rest of my
Not
0600
consistent.
guys.
I'm going to switch. I want to switch back to real estate, and the lion's share of your work now is done with post offices.
Right.
How did that? That is such a niche.
It
deal.
really is. A friend of mine, real estate guys like me, partner with other real estate companies.
Sure.
One of my partners was Charles Lieber Real Estate. And he broke up with another real estate guy. Now, these are all separate companies, Perry Melman Realty. And they divided 40 post office, maybe 25. And I bought a package.
Okay.
We used to go to lunch every day at Canetto's, about 6, 7 real estate guys, all passed,
Yeah.
except me. But I heard him talking, him and Perry were splitting up, and he had this package. And I bought 12, small.
Right.
I still got them today.
You still
Most
got
of
the
them.
12 are
Most of them.
intact?
Yeah.
Wow. The original 12.
Well, intact, the original 12.
Yeah.
Herrick, Illinois, Mason, Illinois. I still got most of them.
Mm-hmm.
But and he taught me how to find other ones.
Sure.
Now, there's 40,000, 38,000 to be exact, post office in the United States.
Wow.
Now, your big ones, 10,000 square foot or more, are owned by the government.
Right.
But the rest, people don't know this, 3/4 of them are individuals and companies.
Okay.
And I deal with 3 brokers, there's several specialized, but 3 brokers mainly. Touchstone Realty in San Francisco, who I talk to almost every other day.
Wow.
Avery Group
Yeah.
in Vancouver, and Matthews Realty, a guy named Corey Solinsky. Those 3.
Those are the 3 guys.
And I used to be able to send out letters and go direct to owners, but now I deal with brokers.
Okay.
And I just grew and concentrated on it. I used to lend to builders too
Okay.
and finance a home. But in 2008, there was a crash.
Right.
Not a recession or depression. Took me 2 years to get out, but since then I've doubled the business.
Wow. And then, do you have to deal with the government a lot, or how does that work? Is there a relationship between you and the government
There's 5 leasing agents. I know them all.
that work for the government?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They use JLL as an intermediary to negotiate. But basically, the leases are finalized by the government. Now, the post office is a quasi-government organization.
Right.
Every 5 years, you renew the leases.
Okay.
Do they close? No. It costs them too much to move. Only when they've outgrown the space. I had that happen to me recently in Pacific, Missouri. They bought an old Boatman's branch. Took them 2 years to convert it to their standards.
Right.
And I had a lease that covered me even if they moved out.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
What's interesting to me about it, because I've dealt with the government a little bit with the St. Louis airport as
Sure.
an insurance broker,
Right.
where there's got to be a minority ownership piece
Yes.
in anything they do,
Right.
And it kind of surprises me that that they don't have that requirement with these post offices.
Yeah. Well, Lambert St. Louis Airport is basically a city agency,
Right.
not a full government.
But in order to get federal money,
Oh,
they got to do, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But
They have to have minority contractors.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's MBEs or WBEs.
Yeah, but we don't get federal money.
Yeah.
Bailouts.
Okay.
We've lost money due to a pension prepaid, which they've eliminated that basically.
And so now you have 400
Close
post
to it.
office close to it. And
It
how do you,
fluctuates. Sometimes I sell, I trade.
right?
Normally, I'm a buyer more so than a seller, but I have sold.
Yeah. Now, you got to have somebody that looks in on these You got a property manager that goes and
I have several people working for me, but I negotiate all the leases myself.
and you're in what, 38 states?
Yeah,
Wow.
but I do all the leases. I'm constantly have 8 to 10 being negotiated.
Yeah, it's really interesting because people just don't think of that, right?
Yeah, but
think-
that's where I thrive. I love
Yeah.
to negotiate leases.
Yeah.
and buy and sell.
Yeah, that's the fun in it.
Doctor told me one time, he says, because I'm pretty good health-wise, he says, you keep working what keeps you going, and it might be something to that.
Oh, I believe it.
Because I love going to work.
Right.
I don't work like I used to, 12, 14 hours a day, but, I usually quit by noon. I travel in the winter. I have my barbecues, as you know, in the summertime with my guys.
Yeah.
But I love going to work. I'm down to the MAC 4:30 in the morning, walk over at 8 o'clock, get on the phone and hustle.
It's like me. I'm up at 4. But I'm not down at the MAC when
No.
I'm up doing. But you're like my father, right?
Yeah.
My dad's 87.
Yeah.
Still runs the company.
I know.
And I think there's a lot
There's
to
a
be
lot
said
to that.
about that.
I know people, especially one very good friend, his father-in-law, retired a couple of years back, and 2 years later died.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe in keeping active.
Walking, talking, and thinking.
Keep moving.
And keep moving.
Keep moving.
Keep your mind moving.
And have something to think about the next day.
Yeah, something to
Let's
do.
see what I'm going to do with this guy. Maybe I'll sell this, buy this. I heard about another deal. Your mind's going.
Or even problems that arise. You got to think through it. How am I going to? How am I going to fix it? What are we
For
going
some
to do?
reason, I thrive on problems.
Right.
I mean,
Well, it's an opportunity.
It's
an opportunity.
I like to take a deal and make it better, or how would you say? One door closes, another opens.
Yeah.
It's sort of like when the nuns threw me out of St. Gabriel. I was very embarrassed, my playmates and everything. It was the third time.
Yeah.
But what happened? I went to a public school and met my wife. We're together today.
Oh, boy.
64 years later.
64 years. You've been married. You got three
married,
kids.
but 70 years together.
Wow.
8th grade.
From when you dated.
I'm 83.
Well, a lot of people talk about high school sweethearts. You guys were grade school sweethearts.
Grade school. Yeah. Thanks.
And I know Jenny, she's the best.
I kind of thank those nuns all the time for throwing me out.
I know you like to throw that around a lot, that people, the best, but she's the best.
She is the best. She's a saint.
Virginia, Jenny.
The doll, I call her.
Yeah.
I got everybody else calling her doll, too.
Yeah. Speaking of Dad in the restaurant business.
You do know her very well.
Oh, yeah. But, and
you're part of the family. You know that, don't you?
We were over there yesterday, just for Father's Day. We were over there.
That's right. That's right.
But it's talking about, circle back to my dad, restaurant business. You messed around in the restaurant business. You had a diner in Maplewood?
Just
Sutton?
a couple. Before I got into real estate, I bought and sold a few businesses. Confectionery. I had 2901 Sutton Maple Coffee Shop. It was on the corner of Sutton and Maple, hence Maple Coffee Shop. But I turned it into a 24-hour spot with a watermelon out in the parking lot in the summers.
Wow.
But basically, I operate them to build them up and sell them.
Okay.
Similar to real estate. Renovate. Very good. You caught that.
What year was that you had the diner?
In the 60s, 61, 62.
When they were really popular.
No, earlier than that. Let's see. Maybe 59, 60. Because I got into real estate in 62.
Okay.
Yeah. The diner was popular. You had them all over town.
Yeah. Another nostalgic thing.
Yeah. I sold one twice. I took it back. A guy defaulted and sold it again for more than I sold it the first time.
Wow. You doubled down.
Yeah, doubled down.
And doubled your pleasure.
I did that with real estate, too.
Yeah.
I used to sell them and take back a second deed of trust. I had a building, 5602 Wobbit. I sold it 4 times.
Oh, my God.
They defaulted on the second. Now, in order to protect the second, I had to keep the first going.
Okay.
But fix it up, sell it again.
There's a diner in Maplewood now. It's called
Tiffany's. Yes.
Yeah.
It was. That was an old historic place.
And it's on Sutton, right?
Yeah. No, Sutton and Manchester.
Sutton and Manchester, right on the corner there, yeah.
Across from the old Cat's drugstore.
Right. That was
You
a
don't remember
drugstore.
that.
I don't
Before
remember
you.
that.
Yeah.
But that's a neat area coming through there.
Yeah.
That main street, if you will.
Yeah.
There's still
Maplewood is still
Paramount
hopping.
Jewelers still there.
Maplewood is still going strong. It's like Kirkwood and Webster. Their downtowns are vibrant. It's leadership.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, downtown, we haven't had a good leader in quite some time.
No. And then, Maplewood's had a bit of a resurgence,
Yes.
if you will.
Yes.
In the last, 8 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, some cool restaurants coming in there.
Good restaurants.
Yeah, some good ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But
What's that one that's really good? I can't think of the name of it, but
Achero.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sure.
my grandson
Fiala.
goes there. Vinny likes that. My
Very good.
son-in-law.
Yeah, he owns the Crossing in Clayton.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
same
Fiala
guy.
boys.
That's right. Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be right back after these messages with Keith Barket. Kuna Food Service, providing quality food to people across the Midwest, is part of our rich history at Kuna because food brings people together. We specialize in having a large variety of food products and food supplies, catering to an array of businesses that turn to us. Kuna Food Service, a family-owned tradition since 1918. Oliva on the Hill. It's Italy in the city. With exquisite old-world charm, this ideal setting is perfect for your next special event, wedding, just having lunch, or enjoying Wine Down Wednesday and the Antique Market. Check it out, olivaonthehill.com. Lordo's Diamonds, your family's jeweler for life. Family owned and operated for over 70 years, specializing in engagement rings, fashion jewelry, gemstones, and in-house jewelry repair. Relaxed, friendly atmosphere, competitive pricing, and a selection second to none. Conveniently located just west of the Galleria on Clayton Road. Lordo's Diamonds, your family's jeweler for life. Lordo'sDiamonds.com. Joe Fresta for Fresta Limoncello. My handcrafted small batch citrus liqueur is perfect for sipping or pouring in a cocktail. All natural, gluten-free, Fresta Limoncello is sold at Schnucks, Dierberg's, Straub's, Total Wine, and local restaurants. Fresta Limoncello. Keep sipping, my friends. Welcome back to the Supper Club. We're here with Keith Barket, talking a little real estate, little pool sharking, a little bit of restaurant business. But I want to get back into the real estate part.
All right.
Did you ever do anything on Washington Avenue when that was a big thing?
No, I was tempted a few times, and I made some offers but didn't get it.
Yeah.
That was a different group of Sam Glazer, McGowan Brothers, and
Sure.
David Jump.
Yeah, the McGowans were my original partners in the insurance business.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Daniel and Henry, and we moved over
Right.
to a startup, and then they decided to make a career change and get into the real estate business on Washington Avenue.
That niche and those guys did a lot for Washington Avenue and kind of anchored it.
Sure.
And what every vibrant city needs is more housing.
Right.
And they did a good job.
Yeah. I'm by no means a real estate expert, but I think I would have did it a little different. I would have modeled it after Michigan Avenue in Chicago.
How's that?
I would have put high-end retail on the bottom floors.
Right.
Gucci, Ferragamo, all those Ralph Lauren, all those high, Cole Haan, all that stuff. That would have brought in the money people to live above those places and sustain it. Some, dot it with some cool restaurants.
You do know real estate.
And I'm for hire. You need somebody to run around for you.
I seen that.
That would have been my vision for that, because it's a beautiful, those buildings and everything.
I'm familiar with that in the Soho district of New York, what you're talking
Sure.
about with lofts. But I don't know about downtown St. Louis supporting that. It would be great. It's just like right now, what do you do with the Railway Exchange building? I have an idea.
Right.
But and that would be tear it down and make a nice park with gazebos and lakes and 24-hour security.
Sure.
Maybe it would help the rest of downtown.
Right.
It's just what's left and surrounding.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah, it was such a neat. It was just that old. It was the fur trade district at one time,
Garment
right?
district,
Garment
right,
district, and all that commerce used to come up from the river. But beautiful buildings. I just think it would have sustained a little more. Instead of having nightclubs below,
Yeah.
let's get some high-end retail, some really good restaurants. We're such a good restaurant scene here in St. Louis. And I think that would have brought in the money and the tenants that would have helped sustain the place.
One of our greatest assets is our architecture, and the nightclubs help bring it down because of the riffraff and the shootings.
And
that contributed to the downfall.
And the noise.
And the noise.
People coming and going late at night. They all had 3 o'clock licenses.
That's right. That was just the miss. That was the start. It would fail downtown was having that.
Yeah.
So you're right about high-end shops or any kind of shops
Right.
other than nightclubs.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing is the basis, and you can disagree or not, I think the basis of any community is education.
Sure.
You got to have education. It's your
Yes.
platform, and then it builds up.
Right. Well,
You know what I
Webster
mean?
University moving downtown, so to speak, of what you're thinking
Right.
helped it,
Sure.
but not enough.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think it could have been a lot better than it was. It's good, but
It wasn't
been a little
enough
better.
quality retail. I don't know if you'd get to Gucci's or Ferragamo, but any quality, whether it's an ice cream bar, anything but nightclubs.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe you could have came a couple years free lease in the beginning or something. I'll get creative just to get them in there.
That's a good point.
Get the traffic in there,
Good
the
point.
money traffic.
Yep, exactly.
And it would just maybe grow out exponentially from there.
Exactly.
You know.
No, that's a good point.
But yeah, it's just a beautiful street
Yeah.
in downtown St.
Oh,
Louis.
the architecture is amazing.
Yeah, really is.
And I remember when it was humming during the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
The difference today is night and day.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
hope that I'm around a little longer to see it come back a little.
Turn. It was my next question. Do you think it'll ever make a turn and come back to its old glory?
It will. It depends on it. Over by Ballpark Village, the Cordage Company, they are with that around
Ballpark
hotel,
Village.
The Clarion.
Oh, yeah.
We just need something like the Renaissance of Washington Avenue into Lost by the McGowans and a few other people. We need, and there is a company, Oliver Properties, that's doing it
Yeah.
on a small scale. We just need a few more younger entrepreneurs.
To tie it all in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, it was.
Now, see, something was just recently defeated by Steve Roberts. It was an incentive packages to help downtown, and I hated to see that. Years ago, a lawyer named Jerry Schlittler invented the TIFs and certain tax advantages
financing,
to
yeah.
help. And that's what we need. We need some more laws to help.
to help it out.
Yeah.
Just give it a push.
You're right.
Yeah. And you know, as we're talking, everybody can see why they called you Downtown Keith. And, you know, there's another guy that was a downtown guy, and you were very good friends with him, Vince Bomarito.
The best. He's original downtown.
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
He loved downtown
Oh
St.
my
Louis.
God, that was the biggest booster, and he was ahead of the business. He gave me actually an award one time for beautification at Ambassador Building.
No
I
kidding.
still have it to this day hanging on my wall. But he was the chairman of the beautification committee, and no better guy to head that arm of the city than Vince Bomarito.
Yeah, you know, God bless him, passed away.
Yes.
But I recently, not too long ago, had his brother Tony on the show.
Oh yes.
And their whole lives were downtown. They had Anthony's.
I
and
remember when
and
they
Tony's.
both worked Tony's.
Yeah, and then they moved up, you know, closer to the ballpark
Right,
there.
right.
And,
And I think with just the expanding of the families,
sure,
they started a Bomarito Wine Company, which today the next generation
That's
is
right.
running. And same thing with Tony's while it was in existence. Vince Bomarito, legend.
yeah, great guy.
I haven't become the legend yet.
Oh, come on. You guys are in the downtown Hall of Fame. But he was like you, just made his bones downtown, would go to the MAC every day.
Every day.
I would sit with him up on 5M every day and we'd talk.
He befriended my son-in-law, who
Yeah.
has a New York accent, was a little, how would you say, conscious of it.
Yeah, he's from the Bronx.
Yeah, and Vince took him under his wings, and they became good friends.
Right.
And through that, Tony,
Yeah.
the younger brother, also was a good friend of my son-in-law's.
Yeah. I used to hang out with with Vince a lot. Because he was there a lot on 5M, and we talked
Every day.
He loved to talk sports.
That's right.
Loved to talk downtown
And family.
and he loved to talk boxing.
Boxing.
Yeah, he was a big boxing guy.
We
I think
used
he was
to
a
have
boxer. When
we used to have a soup
You
together.
were a pool shark. He was a boxer.
Yeah, that's true. He was. Yeah.
You guys were both hustling, making
Yeah.
some bucks.
I remember stories from Kim Tucci and Sam Cavato who worked for him as
That's
Major
right.
D's.
Yeah. Dominic Galati worked for him
That's
there.
right. John Minio.
Yep. John Minio. Gabrielle.
Yeah.
Yep. Giovanni's.
Yeah.
Who else? Sam Cavato,
Sam Cavato.
who went in a different direction.
But in the restaurant business, John Minio, Giovanni, Dominic, somebody else. I can't
There's
think.
one more. We're missing one more.
Yeah,
Kim
we're-
Tucci. He was a maitre
That's
d'.
right. That's
yeah.
right. That's
My
right.
dad's partner.
Your dad's partner.
But yeah. But
Speaking of your dad, I've read his book 3 times, The Last Man Standing. Terrific book.
yeah. Thank you.
And I remember it brought back a lot of memories because it went through different phases. Andrino DeSantis,
Oh yeah.
who also was Tony's. That's the 4th guy.
Yeah.
Started his restaurant.
Yeah, Andrino DeSantis was the guy, I'm pretty sure, was behind the Pasta House Company salad. He
Oh,
was either-
really? Yeah, I didn't know.
I think he was the one who kind of came up with that,
I'll
with
be
the
darned.
Parmesan cheese and
Well,
the
I thought
hearts of palm. And
I
the-
thought Charlie Mongavero and Rich
yeah,
Ronzio
there,
did that.
there was
But maybe they
little-
learned from him.
I think there was some plug and play
Yeah.
going on there and creativity. Great chefs.
He had an unbelievable personality, and he was one of the top guys at Tony's. All the women would come in there and ask for him.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And when he started his place, Andrino's on the hill, which is now Dominic's,
Yeah.
Charlie Mongavero worked for him.
That's
and Rich
right. I
Ronzio.
think Richard did too.
Yeah, too, right.
Yeah, great guys, man.
I'll tell you how the pasta house, well, you know the story too. Well, one of the customers who always got a seat at Andre's, they went on a vacation with, it's in your dad's book, to Mexico, and they didn't know if they have a job when they come back because Andrino told them, you leave, you don't have a job.
Oh.
Backed them in the original pasta house. It was a deli,
Right.
and he asked Charlie and Rich to take over, and it became Rich and Charlie's,
and
which later on was a pasta house.
I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he
Yeah.
came to them and said, "Hey, I heard you guys might be wanting to get into,
Right.
restaurant, do your own restaurant,"
Yeah.
because he knew they were good.
Yeah.
But they said, "Well, we don't have any money, but and he backed them, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
And
It just goes to show you how something, if you've got the right people like your dad
Yeah.
and Kim Tucci, can grow
yeah,
from nothing to something.
it's just something. Yeah,
Sort of like me in the tenements
that's right.
to being
Right.
lesser to the
Just
government.
that's the American dream.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Two different paths in
right,
getting there.
right, exactly.
And I want to circle back to your love of downtown, the Missouri Athletic Club. You went ahead and you did a little giving back to the Missouri Athletic Club,
Yes.
to down in the main lobby, the art lounge, which is just absolutely, talk about beautiful buildings in downtown,
Oh,
which is at the foot of Washington Avenue.
boy, is that anchored that corner
Oh yeah, for years.
for years.
But talk about what part of your vision and what you saw.
I don't know why, but I never noticed before until Chip, our current manager, who's one of the best in my 50 years of being there.
Yeah.
And we had some good ones. But Chip, what he's done in 1 year is more than most of the guys did in their tenure of 12 to 14 years. And one of them was to highlight the wood. I don't know how he got this idea with linseed oil. And the same thing is what shellac or varnish does to wood. It highlights
brings out
it.
that character and the color of the wood,
Boy,
the
I was
grains.
just so impressed with that. One of many things he did in the beginning, the first year. And I happened to look up at the ceiling and notice that, let me add to this. I know the guys that can highlight this molding.
Yeah.
So I brought in the Pisani brothers, who I've been dealing with
Oh.
for 50 years.
John and Paul Pisani.
That's right, the best.
Yeah, Paul's no longer with us, but
Right.
John's still going.
John's still going, and fortunately, his nephew, which is
John.
John Anthony,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, John Anthony,
Yeah.
Paul's son.
That's right.
And I says to him recently, about a year ago, I didn't know he brought them in because I was wondering. I know that Paul is only working part time. He's up almost 80.
Right.
Could he handle that?
Yeah.
But he hired John Anthony. Paul's son came into the business.
Right. Correct.
And I said, maybe he'll take over someday. He says, who knows?
He was in the banking business prior to that. He was a banker.
Yeah, I didn't know. He had another son who might come in who is real estate.
Paul. Young Paul.
Young Paul.
Yep. Here's another interesting tidbit. Paul Pisani and Lois Pisani, his wife, are my brother Paul's godparents.
I'll be darned. I didn't know that.
And my mom and dad are godparents to Paul's and Lois's daughter, Paula.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
No, but he made
anyway.
that ceiling. He topped it off. It was the icing on the cake. Now I'm going to have him do the art lounge.
Okay, that's next.
Yeah.
Didn't
July
you
7th.
And you did something on the 6th floor too, didn't you?
I did. I was one of the contributors, not the only.
Okay.
A lot of the past governors and presidents also contributed to that. The whole floor was gutted out. But yes, now we're going to put a fireplace in the main lobby, which why when the building was built in 1903, they didn't have a fireplace.
That's amazing to me. You would think there would have been one.
Yeah.
Right around if you come in the front
opposite
door,
the elevators.
right around where the steps go up to the general manager's
exactly,
office.
right there.
Might be in that area, but they did. You're right.
Now there's one there, but it's on the far corner opposite in the art lounge.
Oh, really? Okay.
You don't even see it.
You know, it's too wide. It's not a focal point.
No.
Which is what it should be.
This will be.
Yeah. Talk about it. It's going to be a big one. What's going to?
Yeah, no, it's a 2-story lobby, so it'll be about 8 foot tall, or about 6.5, and opening will be at least 50 inches.
Big.
And where the leather chairs are sitting now, it'll be there, and the leather chairs will be reversed. So it'll be a focal point.
It'll be in the center of that wall.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be beautiful. I know right where you're talking about. It reminds me of an old fireplace hearth up in Manchester Village, Vermont, a place called the Equinox.
Equinox.
Oh, man, this place is so old. You know how old it is? Say, how old is it?
How old is it?
The Redcoats used to go in there and drink beer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when you walk in this place, it's off to the right. There's a big restaurant in there.
I'd like to get a picture of that.
Oh, this hearth is so big you can walk inside of it.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, a lot of history. But fireplaces are such a great
my gosh,
thing.
in a historic building like that?
Yeah, and I
why it was overlooked, I don't know.
I miss fire. I wish I had a fireplace in my house, but that's the one thing I miss. But that'll be just one of it. It's right there, centered on that one wall. It'll be fabulous. And it will be real fireplace.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be.
They're going to put a chimney in there and everything?
No, we're going to vent it out a certain way.
Yeah.
Go down, and there's a false ceiling in the basement that we can go through.
Really?
Yeah. It's a complicated process.
It sounds
That's why
like
it took a year since I first initiated this. It still isn't done.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a little bit.
We had to quit one company and go with another.
Really?
But it's a very complicated. The fireplace is easy. The venting's hard.
Yeah. Because it's not your traditional chimney.
Right.
It takes a different engineer.
We're in the middle of the room. We can't go up.
Yeah,
but what I
right.
noticed is there's a 2-foot clearance to go from the art lounge into the lobby. And there's a cold air return duct in the way, but we're going to remove that and reroute it and sink it in there.
Right.
It can be done.
Well, I can't wait to see it.
Me too.
Yeah. I'm going to move on a little bit.
Okay.
And, you know, like a lot of guys, they're mostly into sports, playing sports. But you have some other hobbies, one of which is gardening.
That's right.
You love to garden.
Love it.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Since
When'd you get an interest in that?
Well, my grandma, I don't know. You know, I don't know how to play tennis or golf, but my grandma taught me about flowers when I was little.
Right.
Tulips and stuff.
Sure.
And I don't know. I just loved the earth. I took care of my parents' yard, mowing it and trimming and planting. And what I've got today is over a 50-year period.
Sure.
But I work with Sherwood Forest, one of many of landscape people.
Yeah.
And for 40 years now, and I just add each year, your father's the same way.
Yeah.
He's pretty good with the landscaping.
Yeah. But you have an eye, again, you've got an attention to detail, a vision.
Yeah.
And you've sort of made your way through over the years.
Right.
In your beautiful backyard in your home in West St. Louis County.
Right.
Water
Well,
figure.
I just finished another pond. I had a main pond for 30 years, but now I got that pond flows into another pond.
It's like I'm not kidding when I tell you, it's like the botanical gardens in there.
Matter of fact, I think it was your mom. Wasn't she on the board of botanical gardens?
She was, yeah.
Wanted to
Very
have
good.
a tour there.
Oh,
I said,
yeah.
Oh, that's great. How many people? 800. I said, no.
800.
Yeah. But I've had some small gatherings.
Yeah. That's your other hobby. You love to entertain.
I do.
Love to
I
entertain.
do. I'm a good grill man.
You
I think
are a
I
good
am.
grill man. Yeah.
I'm not as good a cook as my wife, but when it comes to the grill, I'm pretty good.
So you've had these legendary Saturday afternoon get-togethers at your house. When did that start?
40 years ago.
Yeah.
Smaller scale, but
Sure.
from Memorial Day to Labor Day,
Right.
every Saturday, 12
Every
to 7.
Saturday.
Yeah.
And you pick a different type of cuisine or whatever it might be.
Oh, every day is different. I mean,
Different.
every Saturday. I started thinking about it on Monday. But your father, who's one of my
Right.
dearest, closest friends, and
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
and a small group.
I started going years ago.
Well, you were one of the
I
originals.
don't know about one of the originals.
You were a charter member.
I was maybe an original 12. There was an original 6, and maybe I was an original 12.
We got to
But
give that a name,
you had
like
some,
the 06 Hunter Club.
those guys that go there now, they're like, hey, what are
You're
you doing here? I said, wait a minute, I've been here. I used to
you're
come
right.
here 30 years ago.
You're one of the charter members.
Yeah,
we got to think of a name for that.
You had guys like Ben Fixman.
Yeah.
You had Marvin Bloom.
Yeah.
You had Kurt Kottman.
Kurt Common.
You had, who else you have there? Original 6 guys. Maybe a little more.
Maybe
Sam Cavato.
Sam. He wasn't too active because him being in the clothing business was one of his busiest days.
Sure.
But Kim Tucci, your dad's partner, was
used to come.
one of my co-hosts. He'd bring the
Co-host.
pasta and the salad every Saturday.
Right. Yeah.
And he would get there and bring mortadella and stuff from Viviano's and make sandwiches before the cooking. He couldn't wait.
He couldn't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something. He probably brought. Did he bring his suicide sauce ever? Did you ever bring that?
Oh my God, yeah.
With the
he
penne
he
and the
told me-
zazitza in there?
Yeah, he told me. He
man.
says, "Don't." Yeah. He said, "My partner Joe doesn't know this, but I put a pound of butter in there."
Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes I'd be over at his house. He'd let me go in the vault and get you some sauce.
Yeah.
He'd have it frozen in there.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
That sauce was the best I ever
Oh
had.
man, he'd have an open house every Christmas.
I was there.
Yeah, and people have everybody there, man. It was great. It was a who's who of St. Louis, and he would do that sauce every year.
Oh, that sauce
And people
was
loved it.
That was a killer.
Yeah, but those were great times. You created a lot of memories there.
You know,
And,
not only that, but Mon's Importing, which is no longer around. Your dad,
we used to use them.
yeah, I know that.
Monzo's.
It had Marcella wine and fennel in the sauce. It was the best sausage in St. Louis.
Right.
Then after I couldn't get that no more, I went to Mama Toscano's and they closed. Now Evaldi.
Evaldi's, yeah, right.
But I do zazzitas and pepper. I do Italian theme. I do Greek theme. I got a Greek gal
Yeah.
that helps me with that.
Yeah.
And
Then you
all
do the
American.
traditional backyard barbecue.
Oh,
do
yeah,
some
with the ribs and the
burgers, hot dogs.
brisket and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, zazitza.
I got
some
4
sauerkraut.
grills.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All 4, they're all
I
going
got
at the same
smoker.
time.
I got the Weber. I got the green egg. I got a gas deal.
Yeah, I'm going to circle back, and I want to get into family.
Okay.
You had two boys. You and Jenny had 2 boys and a girl.
Right.
Your 2 boys, Keith and Sal, they both got into the real estate
Yes.
business.
Yes.
But maybe a little different path than you.
Bigger.
Yeah, bigger.
Bigger.
Yeah, I know.
I learned from them. I
I'm gonna
taught them. They used
I'm
to
gonna
work
let
for
you
me.
tell the story, but it's unbelievable what those 2 were able to accomplish, and in different cities.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Well, you know what? They worked for me when I built houses as laborers.
Okay.
I believed in no matter how success, but instill values in children.
Yeah.
and even my daughter Kim
Sure.
held 2 jobs at one time
Yeah.
in New York. But my boys were laborers, and then after I got into downtown office buildings, leasing agents. And
Okay.
would cold call in other buildings and bring tenants.
Wow.
But Keith had both of them had good education, but especially Keith, Georgetown University undergrad
Oh, wow.
in accounting, and Wharton for a master's degree.
Yeah.
So he started work
Wow.
for a company called the Miramar Realty. One of his backers was Angelo Gordon, a hedge fund.
Okay.
And they needed somebody to build a real estate company because the guy in it wanted to go into private equity businesses.
Yeah.
So Keith headed that up and took it from $300 million to $8 billion in assets
Oh my God! From the ground up.
from the ground up, right?
And that was that in Philadelphia or New York?
New York.
Okay.
Angelo Gordon. Philadelphia was a Miramar Realty.
He did some things in Philadelphia though, didn't he?
That's where he started with a Miramar Realty.
Right.
It was headquartered
Yeah.
in Philadelphia, and that was Rittenhouse Square, and a few other developments.
Right.
But and then Sal became a partner in Centrum Properties, and they worked together as partners.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Oh, they did. They did some,
All over the
some
country.
deals together.
Oh yeah, all over the
Okay.
country. San
But
Francisco.
Sal was in Chicago.
He's still
There.
Yeah, and he has stuff in St. Louis, the Boulevard.
Okay.
That's one of his projects. And
Yeah.
he did the Creve Coeur Pavilion, where AMC Theater and what other restaurants out there? California Kitchens. He did that on Olive and Lindbergh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also didn't he do the deal on the corner of Clarkson and Clayton?
Yeah.
Where the first Lifetime
Town and
Fitness
Country
was.
Crossing.
He did that.
Yeah,
right?
where the Lifetime Fitness, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Great development.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's and so now they were telling you.
Now they teach me.
They were teaching.
Now I'm learning from them.
Yeah, well, but it was they got into that big time stuff.
big time, big
yeah,
time.
skyscraper type
Yeah, exactly,
situations.
yeah.
Yeah,
Much
Wow.
bigger scale than me.
Really cool. Now, your daughter Kim,
Yeah.
did she work in the real estate
No.
business with you at all?
No.
Never
did,
had an
never
interest
did.
in
Her,
it?
Her daughters have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my
The
granddaughters.
girls.
Yeah, Danielle and Jenny both worked for me.
Oh, that's really
Yeah,
neat. Yeah, good
They were
kids.
good. They were good.
Yeah. Are they still not?
No, I wish I had them back.
Yeah.
Actually, Danielle, through learning from Barket Realty, went on to had a pretty successful job with Cushman Wakefield
Wow.
in leasing. She's still there today.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a lot of you are still.
Yeah, the real estate runs in the family.
Yeah. Apparently.
Started with my Uncle Alex in Kansas City,
Yeah.
who I
Your
idoled
uncle.
and learned from.
Now, was he born and raised in Kansas City?
St. Louis.
Oh, but he moved to Kansas
He's from
City.
Lebanon also.
Okay.
Well, no, he was born here. He was the youngest of all of them. He was
Sure.
born here. Down Shoto Avenue was a little Lebanon.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
I'll be
Where
darned.
St. Raymond's Church is now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Big church. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Father Shaheen.
Father Shaheen. That's
He
where
was the
my
boss.
daughter got married there.
He was like our Father Polizzi.
That's it, exactly. Sal Polizzi did the ribbon cutting on my building on the hill called Fur Mercantile, 5257
Oh,
Shaw.
I remember when you were doing that development.
I gutted that out and
or that
rebuilt it.
renovation, I should say.
The renovation, yeah. Actually, that was almost full construction because the only thing original is the shell. Charlie Gito helped me out a lot there. He's on the hill with a restaurant.
Yeah, right across the
He
street.
helped me with promoting it and supporting it and parking.
But you kept a lot of the original features of that building, the exposed brick,
All the
the
bricks.
sliding metal doors.
I did.
You had all
I
those
refurbished them.
refurbished.
I even took a safe and had it redone and put it in the lobbies of
Right.
piece of art.
Sure.
But the elevators are all new, and each floor had new restrooms.
Yeah.
And they had cut a floor in half that I opened it up. So on the second floor is a 2-story window space.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that was a special tenant, a studio.
Wow. Okay, so there's living space in there too?
No.
No, just office.
No, it could have been, and I thought about that. It's all
Yeah.
offices.
It's all offices upstairs. Yeah.
But it could have been lofts and big success too. But I did good as an office building. I had that for 20 years and sold it.
And then you sold it.
Yeah.
I remember when you did that. Now there's a restaurant there, Carnivore.
Yes.
Doing very well. Before that, it was a tapas place.
That's right. What was the name of it?
They were your tenant. Were they?
Yeah. Well, I created it. I put them in there. I mean, I built it.
Yeah. And then they came in under you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I can't recall the name, but the guy that ran it was
Modesto's.
Yeah, but that's very good.
That's it.
The guy that ran that, Brennan, was connected to the New Orleans family that owned Brennan's.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
His name was Brendan Marston.
Okay.
But he was connected to the people that owned Brennan's in New York.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Yeah. Yeah, and then your daughter Kim's married to Vincent Luongo, who is one of my
daughter Kim. Yeah.
Your daughter Kim.
Right. I'm thinking of the grandchildren.
Yeah. One of my favorite people in the world.
The best.
Nobody makes me laugh more than this guy.
You talk about success. Not only did I have a beautiful wife, I've got the greatest. He's not a son-in-law. He's a son.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have a company together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a Nuco, which is a post office.
Sure.
Separate from my post office.
Okay.
And I have 3 post office companies. One was with my wife, one's me, and one's Vinny.
Oh, so you kind of divided them up a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't know Vinny was doing that.
I started him off about 15 years ago, and what he learned in 1 year is better than it took me 30 years. He's
Smart
a great
guy.
negotiator. Of course, he's in banking and accounting. You know how Vinny we met, Kim?
He's a banker.
My son, who's a graduate, undergraduate at Georgetown University in accounting, worked for Arthur Anderson, and so did Vinny.
And that's how he met Kim.
He brought him home to meet Kim.
He brought him home
for Christmas or after.
No
Christmas.
kidding.
Right. And I'll never forget Vinny's. I'm in New York, and he wanted me to meet his dad. He called him. I'm staying at the St. Moritz Hotel.
Yeah.
They lived in Yonkers. In 20 minutes, the old man had a feast for me you couldn't believe. Homemade mozzarella, olives.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he grew up in the Bronx, correct?
Bronx started, then Yonkers.
And Yonkers.
His dad had an Italian deli.
He told me, we talked, from time to time, and he said he knew the Gotti boys a little bit.
Yeah.
He kind of grew up in the same neighborhood as them.
Well, he used to meet John Gotti Jr. when he'd visit his father in Marion.
Right. Yeah, I remember when he was over
there. Well, you
there.
should see the cast of characters at his wedding.
Oh, yeah.
One of them was Sergio that owned Scores for the what family was that in New York?
I don't know.
Yeah, there's one of the families owned Scores back to
Yeah.
Sergio.
I remember when John Gotti was incarcerated. He was staying in Marion, Illinois, and I was a member of the cigar club at the Ritz for years.
Yeah.
And there was a one-way glass that they had that you could see into the restaurant next door, but you couldn't see. And I would see his daughter and Bruce Cutler. Victoria and his attorney, Bruce Cutler, having dinner together.
I'll be darned.
And a number of times, because what they would do is, I think they were flying in.
Oh, that's right.
They'd fly into St. Louis.
He had to get to Marion.
Stay at the Ritz overnight,
right.
Have dinner, and then they drive to Marion the next day.
Yeah.
And I saw her there and him there, I don't know, three, 4 times.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Well, she had her own reality show.
Yes, she did.
Later.
Growing Up Gotti.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. So, Vince is just a great guy.
Oh, he is a good guy.
Funny. He could be a stand-up comedian. He really could.
Everybody loves him.
I mean, I keep his voicemail messages just because they make me laugh so much. You know what I mean?
He's good.
Yeah, he really is. He's awesome. And of course, you got the grandkids.
I'm fortunate to have him in the family.
Yeah.
Like I say, he's not a son-in-law; he's a son.
Yeah, his mother came here to stay in St. Louis.
Yes, she did.
And she and my grandmother stayed in the same complex together for
and
a while.
became good friends.
And became buddies. I'd see Vince in passing.
That's right.
Because Dad and I were real good about going to see Grandma, especially my dad every day.
Every day, I know that.
every
What
day.
a good son.
Yeah. Oh, well, she was a good mother.
Yeah.
You know, she raised him, she raised him all by herself.
I know that, yeah.
Single mother since he was 2 years old. So,
Yeah.
hey, that's the way it
Joe
goes.
Bergfeld had a similar story.
Oh, did he?
His
Yeah.
mom
Yeah.
remarried. Because he's Italian, but he
Sure.
took the name of the new husband,
Oh, really?
stepfather.
So he must have adopted him or
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's Italian.
Learn something new
And
every
married
day.
an Italian.
Yes, he did. Jeannie.
Jeannie, that's
yeah,
right.
Jeannie.
But
So,
I always wondered, I knew he was Italian. I said, how'd you come up with the name Bergfeld? And he told me the story.
yeah. So anyway, it's just, it's all about, it's what it's about.
That's right. That's
Work, family, friends.
That's right.
Faith.
I always tell Vinny, your biggest success is your family right here.
That's right.
I know
Yeah.
people that got tons of money, unhappy family,
Yeah.
divorced,
Yeah. A lot of drama.
a lot of drama.
And, yeah, I mean, it's, if you don't, and health. You don't have your
That's
health.
right. That's
You don't have anything.
very important. Very
I
important.
don't care how much money you got. If there's
Yeah.
there's just certain things that there's no cure for. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So,
Exactly.
it's like what Hyman Roth said in The Godfather. He said, "I'd give $1 million just to take a piss
That's
without,
right. He said
without
that,
it
yeah.
hurting."
That's right.
So anyway, yeah, family, friends, your
Yeah.
parties are legendary, and
Thank
you've
you.
been a great friend over the years.
Thank you. And you too.
And my father and mother and Ginny
Yeah.
and the kids.
Well,
and,
your family.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they say if you've got on one hand 5 friends you can count as your best friends. I'm fortunate both hands, but you're right up there at the top of you and your family.
Yeah.
You know, your mom recently read a story in the MAC and sent me a nice note.
Oh, did she?
She said, "I'm 2 years behind you on marriage." Mm-hmm. So they're about 62 years, right?
Yeah, they're right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Keith Barket, thanks for being on the Supper
And thanks
Club.
for having me.
You're the best.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah. The Supper Club brought to you by
Kuna Food Service, a family-owned tradition since 1918.
The Pasta House Company Italian Restaurants.
Lordo's Diamonds, your family jeweler for life.
Oliva on the Hill.
Ackerman Toyota, the #1 St. Louis Toyota dealer in volume sales back-to-back years 2023 and 2024. Thank you, St. Louis.
And Fresta Limoncello. Keep sipping, my friends.